Okay, so welcome to our participants for today and to those who will be watching us in the future because this is going to be recorded and shared on the CETAPS YouTube channel. So today it's my great pleasure to introduce Ruben Constantino Correia, who trained originally as an English lower secondary English teacher. So that was Docenti 20, yeah, the 220 group, yeah. But as of September 2022, he's been working at the University of the Algarve, teaching English for specific purposes. And his doctorate was in the field of foreign language teaching methodology, and you looked at speaking. Is that right?
Exactly. So
Yeah,
intelligibility, speaking
that's right.
proficiency and intelligibility.
That's right. Yeah, and you gave a super talk in at the TEFL 9 conference on just that, wasn't it? On pronunciation and yeah.
A little bit of that, but also with and giving kind of suggestions to people on how to work and the concept of intelligibility and the English as a lingua franca.
Yeah. And there were lots of talks on that at the conference as well. So I'm sure that
Yeah.
you had full audience. So I mean, Ruben has offered to give this talk and he will give you a little bit of background, but it's wonderful that he's wanted to share his learning with us all and help young researchers give great presentations. So over to you, Ruben, and I'll at about 40 minutes, I will give you a little knock on the door kind
Yeah.
of thing, okay? And
Yeah,
then,
but I'll try to manage, and I think I'll manage. Okay.
okay.
So, but thank you, Sandy, for this lovely presentation. And we are here today, and for those that will see it afterwards, I want to share a little bit of what I've learned, and I'm going to give you a little bit of context in a bit. Because actually, for us researchers, presenting our work to audiences sooner or later is become a vital part of our professional life. So, and actually, presentations are a great way to speak directly to people interested in your field of study, to gather ideas, push your projects forward. Actually, as we just recently had our TEFL 9 conference to network and eventually even springboard collaborative international research. In this presentation, I'd like to explore some of the key elements that make presentation impactful and effective. So I'll be discussing from preparation to design, delivery, try to cover important aspects of creating and delivering a presentation with any luck a good one. And I don't know, most likely some of you may have communicated effectively for years, while just some of you are just seeking tips on how to make your next presentation. But whichever the case, with this webinar, it's not intended to teach you or to become a great presenter, but actually rather provide some actionable insights on presentation preparation, design, delivery, and I hope that some of them will trigger old knowledge and perhaps provide new ideas. So regardless of your technical content, there are some few simple steps that should be followed when preparing a presentation, hopefully a successful one. So, okay. So I'll just start by providing a brief context of the training program I did and why it's important to organize your thoughts and craft your presentation to try to convey your information effectively and expectedly trying to conquer your audience. Okay, so and next I'll discuss a bit of the preparation, including the understanding of your audience, crafting your story, defining your message, and structuring your presentation, and also a little bit of impacting with your voice. Then I'll just dive into the design of the presentation. So including readability, simplicity, avoiding bullet points, if that's important. and using your visuals effectively. And last but not least, the delivery itself. So including a little bit of managing your nerves, building your confidence, the delivery structure, and just a tiny caveat at the end that's important, and to raise your awareness on that. So to set the scene, so I actually took part in the first edition of the British Council Researchers Connect for Portugal and Spain. So this is an online training program offered by the British Council. And actually, it has a series of several models, but I was really interested and keen on academic writing and presenting with impact. So this webinar actually is the result of my experience and all of the tips and knowledge I actually gained with one of these modules, that presenting with impact. I don't know, perhaps eventually some of other fellow researchers at CETAPS, if you are interested in it, this is a 2-week intensive program. So it's every day, 3 hours a day. So, and the dates are mid-November and late January, early February. This is the one I actually took earlier this year. So if you are interested, so keep an eye on what Mariana sends. And if you are interested, so this is a really nice opportunity to learn. So now that I've set the scene, so let me set our get-go and why we're having this webinar. It's because 95% of the presentations suck, at least according to Guy Kawasaki. Okay, this Guy Kawasaki is a tech titan, and actually he did the forward of Presentation Zen by Guy Reynolds, and actually he made a kind of out of the box a forward as a slide presentation. Okay, so 95% of the presentation suck. Okay, maybe you're thinking, okay, maybe I'm exaggerating, and actually you're right, I'm exaggerating. It's actually 99% of the presentations that suck. Okay. So, but actually don't worry, that because today we are here to counter these numbers. But but the thing is, why do, and at least Kawasaki says that 99% of presentations suck. At the very extreme, we may be confronted with this kind of presentation. This is actually what Guy Reynolds, so that author from Presentation Zen, calls slide demand. It's a mix of a slide and a document. And as you can see, fortunately, I've never been at a presentation that looked like this. So I don't know if the people that are here, if you want to use the chat or speak, if you ever been to a presentation that looked like this. Fortunately, I haven't. But this is actually just an extreme case of dense, hard to comprehend text-filled slides. And actually, the intentions are actually good, but the results are bad. And all you get with this is ineffective communication. And even though I was lucky not to be at this kind of presentation, but what I have witnessed, and we may have witnessed, are long, boring, bad slide presentations instead of short, simple, and legible ones that most likely those kind of presentations will translate in being engaging. So what can we do? So for starters, we need to prep. So preparation is fundamental for having and delivering a nice presentation. Actually, and on another expert on presentations, it's Nancy Duarte. And just for you guys to have a general idea, she's the one that created the presentation of Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth. And actually, she took 90 hours to create 1 hour long presentation with just 30 slides. And what's the inconvenient truth here, besides the title of the film, is that actually preparing for a presentation is hard work. Takes lots of time to think, to prepare, and to design your presentation. And I mean, all of this, at least if we are to give something to our audience, because sometimes presenters think that the presentation is about themselves, but it's not. It's not about us, it's about them, your audience. It's about contributing something and leaving something important behind for your audience. Okay? So, speaking of which, the first thing to make a presentation actually impactful is knowing your audience. And you have to know who audience is. Understand the background will actually allow us as presenters to tailor the presentation and to fit that particular audience. Also, it will actually help us to establish a rapport with the audience. So at this stage, it's all about mapping your audience. And how can you do that? You can map your audience with a simple graph like this. This is just a suggestion, but by asking yourself so are you engaging with fellow professionals? Perhaps members of the public. If these are members of the public or professionals, it's from outside the academia. Are they experts by experience? Do they have the same body of knowledge as you or not? So uh, uh, um, it's actually important. And then to target your audience and think, who are they? So most likely, and for here I'd say at least for taking into consideration the amount of knowledge of the researchers here at CETAPS and the amount of understanding, you would fall here as expert professionals, okay? So, but this is really, really key to start with, okay? Knowing exactly who you're speaking to. And this is important because this the way you can actually tailor what you're going to say and the way you're going to say it. So now that you actually targeted your audience, there's an estimate of its background knowledge, amount of understanding. So it's time to start crafting the message, right? Okay. But don't start here. Actually, one of the most important things we can do at this initial stage of preparing our presentation, it seems weird, I know, but it's to get away from our computer, okay? Turn off your computer. A mistake that people make, myself included, till very recently, or did this too, was spending a lot of time thinking about my talk, preparing content while sitting in front of the computer. But actually, before we can design our presentation and to help us see the big picture, identify our core messages, um, we need to see it. So, and the way to do it, or at least the easiest way to do it, is going analog. And actually, big technology companies like Apple, they have paper and whiteboards in their office exactly to help with this. So even though actually we are using digital technology to create our visuals later, so to display them when we are delivering our presentation, actually this act of what I'm doing now, and especially face to face with an audience, the act of speaking is very much analog. So, and for this reason, it seems kind of natural while we are preparing and clarifying our presentations. I mean, content, our purpose, our goals. So it's either on pen and paper, post-its, whiteboards. It's easier to do it, to have a clear picture of what our story is about, what we are going to discuss, just going analog. And actually, this is not, but psychologists, they measure everything and then these kind of things. Holding pens or pencils actually connects to the right part of our brain, which is actually responsible for creativity. And this kind of transformation of our content into a presentation will require us to tap in that side of the brain much more, because it actually helps with our, I would say, big picture thinking. Okay, so one of the things, instead of just going straight to your computer, start analog. Okay, I mean, unless you use it like this. Unless you use it like this. This is the best PC screen use ever, full of post-its. Okay, so unless you use it like this, you should go analog before you go digital. So, and now that you actually step back, you took a little bit of time off the grid to get this big picture. As I was saying, you identified your message, you have a clear picture of your presentation, even though you may not have all the details worked out yet. So the next step is to craft your story around your message and supporting messages in a logical way. So, and why are stories so powerful, and why is it important to kind of embed elements of storytelling in your presentations? Because actually, even if we don't notice it, we've been around stories our whole life. So they pass down, so history, they teach us valuable lessons, and most importantly, at least for presentations, that stories actually, they get our attention, and they are way easier to remember than lists of rules. So one way or the other, so all good presentations include some elements of stories to illustrate the points that the presenter wants the audience to remember. Hopefully they will remember. Okay, so, and actually there is, or it's easier to relate to. Stories kind of enable your audiences, your listener, to convert these ideas presented in the story into their own ideas, their own experiences. And this makes actually your content and the content of the presenters more relatable, and after it's way easier to recall, because this, then again, like I was saying, so this is to put your audience first. Okay, even though the events and facts and the order which they arrange, they may be unique to us as presenters, but the actual theme is universal and will resonate with your audience. So we should be thinking of, so what's your research story? So, and I'm sorry, this is my juvenile attempt of actually trying to make post-its on PowerPoint. So I'm sorry for that. Okay, so for today, just as an example, my research story, it's a story about helping my colleagues improve their presentation skills. So what's your research story? You have to think. So then, what are the steps in our story we want to tell to our audience? Again, the example for today, I was thinking of context, then the preparation, then the design, and finally the delivery of a presentation. So, but you have to think of, so what's your story? What's the steps of your story? And then we have to give structure to our story. Okay, so the next step is actually giving our message, our story, a logical structure. And actually, structure will help bring some kind of order to our presentation. It makes it easier for us to deliver it smoothly, and actually for our audience to understand our message easily. And even though we, of course, our audience, they don't see it, our structure, because they are listening to us. But, and structure can be very simple, but actually we need structure to help build our narrative. So this is the classic model. So we have a beginning with the exposition, so we know the things. Then we have the middle, there's a conflict, rising action, a climax, and then a falling action, and the conclusion, the resolution of that conflict. So, but actually, this beginning, middle, end, in research, we are actually looking a little bit more for benefits and solutions. So the structure has to be slightly different. And actually, we can keep this three-part structure, but with a different take to it. Here, I'm just giving 5 examples of past, present, future, problem, solution, benefit, background, findings, recommendation, for, against, decision, pro, con, best choice. Still a three-part structure, but thinking on benefits, on solutions that our research can offer to people, to fellow researchers, or even professionals. Or I say that most of us, when talking about our research, we probably go either green or red. But actually, for today, for me, it's a little bit more blue. It's past, present, future, okay? From where we are coming from, what we are seeing now in the present, and hopefully the future is actually conquering your audiences and delivering nice presentations, impactful, that actually will resonate with your audience. So, but every good story, and Sandy knows this way better than I, every good story needs a voice. So actually, the voice of the storyteller, the presenter, cannot be underestimated. Actually, so there is really a power of voice that we often don't think very much about. So actually, when people speak in a natural, more humane conversational style, the presenter, it's far easier to stay engaged with those kind of presenters, because people can relate to the presenter. When we are in conversations with people, so we are naturally more engaged because we have to participate. There's this kind of obligation that we have to go back and forth and speak to that person, so we get involved. But actually, on the other hand, if our speech, if the presenter's speech is too formal, and I must say that unfortunately many talks are very formal, it is difficult to stay tuned for more than a couple of minutes, and then people get lost and we lose our audience. So, and besides, speakers actually that vary the pace, the pitch, the tone, and volume of the voices are way more effective. Because, for instance, if we as presenters are raising our voices when emphasizing a key message, or we pause after delivering an important point, actually, voice allows us to, as presenters, to change the meaning of the words and to load them with emotions. I don't know if anyone would like to have a try, but this my slide here was actually to ask my audience today, or at least even if you don't want to turn off, sorry, to unmute you, to turn on your speaker, it was to try to do it the same sentence. So I didn't say you stole my red hat, but each time emphasizing a word, and it makes a difference. I don't know if anyone would like to give it a go, but every time we do it, we're actually saying it as fast as we can or as slow as we can, and it actually makes a difference in the way the audience gets our message. Anyone, Sandy? I don't know.
Anyone want to try? I'm happy to start.
Sure, I can start.
Inez, yay!
Yeah. So actually, I've seen these sort of exercises before. May I start with I, maybe?
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah. So I didn't say you stole my red hat.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Anyone else?
I didn't say you stole my red hat. Anyone else?
I didn't say you stole my red hat.
Nice.
Exactly. Nice, Barbara.
Anyone
I
else?
didn't say you stole my red hat.
We're good at
Exactly.
this.
Yeah, you're getting really good at this. You see, so the main point of this is that actually, you see, every time you emphasize a word, a different word, actually, it's you emphasizing a different point. So that's the same thing goes to your presentation. When you're emphasizing your key message, when you are emphasizing key points you want to resonate with your audience, exact same thing. One other thing, actually, again, but this time with emotion, because like I said, when speakers and presenters speak in a more humane manner, they actually relate way easier with the audiences. So we can, or my suggestion is bored, curious, sorry, warm and caring, sad, loud and enthusiastic. I don't know if any one of you would like to try it with this emotion.
Who's going to volunteer first?
So, Inez, would you like to volunteer again to be first?
I'm not sure if I'm a good actress for this. So loud and enthusiastic.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest. Go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, I didn't say you stole my red hat.
Very nice. And up at the
Nice.
end.
Yeah, nice, wonderful.
Yeah. I could try sorry. Oh, I didn't say that you stole my red hat.
Yeah, wonderful, Sandy.
And Daniel.
Good, good.
Well, that seems sad.
Yeah.
I didn't say you stole my red hat.
Wonderful, wonderful, nice, Anthony. Very good, very good.
Cool.
Okay, guys. So, but point made is okay. So actually, your voice really matters when we are delivering our message, when we are presenting, and actually, audience will relate way more with what you're saying if you modulate your voice, your pitch, your tone, your emphasis of words, your emotions on the way you say things. So now that you have prepared, so you know your audience, you know your message, your story, your structure, it's time to think of design. So again, going back to slide elements, that mix that I told you about a couple of minutes ago, a mix of slide and documents, these dance hard to comprehend text-filled slides that completely ineffective to get your message across. And in one word, actually, this is clutter. So what do we want when we are delivering our presentations? We actually want simplicity. Okay, and simplicity, I mean, it's not simplism. Okay, by simplicity or simplicity, sorry, I mean it's pretty much in this case synonymous of clarity, because I want to get the essence of an issue. Okay, we want to keep our slides clear enough to help us pass on our messages to our audience, because and if the information we put on slides doesn't really help our story, doesn't help us telling our story, so it doesn't help the audience understand our points, then it's just getting in the way. So no need for them. So when I mean, again, so simplicity and not simplism. This is not making it easier. No, this is actually making it clear for our audience. So it's for the sake of clarity. So a more traditional approach to design is the 177 rule. Okay, this is many times what presenters try to do, and that perhaps why Kawasaki says that many presentations suck. So, and what is this actually, the 177 rule? It's the one stands for, it's just one idea per slide. Don't cram your slides with many ideas, because then there's the cognitive load and people can't grasp what you're trying to convey, because it's just too much. So just have one slide, one idea. Then the first 7 is actually try, if you go for the traditional approach, try to keep it at a maximum of 7 lines of text per slide. If you go above 7 lines of text, you lose your audience. People are just, it's just too much to take. Okay, so this is the first 7. So, and then the other 7, way before Elon Musk and X. So in the good old days of Twitter, it's 7 words maximum per line. I don't know if you remember that we had 140 characters maximum to write on Twitter. So that's pretty much, so 177. One idea, maximum of 7 lines, and a maximum of 7 words per line. Otherwise, people would just get lost, and it's too much to take. Like I said, the cognitive load is too much, and they aren't actually listening to what you guys are saying as presenters. So, but this traditional way of doing presentations with slides full of bulleted lists, so this has been going on for so long that I think it's kind of part of its corporate culture. It's the way things are done. So, but my question is, so does it work? So, and I think no one can do a good presentation with slide after slide after slide of bullet points. No one, because our audience will just get tired very quickly if several slides of bulleted lists are shown one after the other. And unfortunately, we go to conferences and we attend conferences, and this is exactly what we get. Slides crammed with bullet points with this small print that we can't even read, we don't understand. So, and it's very difficult. And with this, I'm not saying to eradicate bullet points. Actually, bullet points work well in documents to help people scan content, or just at the end to summarize some key points, but only and if used sparingly. Okay, so does it work? You have to question yourselves. Is this method actually good advice? Is it effective? I mean, appealing for your audience? So actually, and can you stick to the 177 rule? It's just one idea per slide, just 7 lines per slide, 7 words per line. Because most of the times, people don't do this. The presenters can't do this. And can't you do it different? Instead of just going for bullet points, can't we just try to do something slightly different that's more effective and more appealing for our audience, and that actually they're listening to us and they are taking our messages in? So, and besides that, actually, it was a psychologist back in the 80s, Alan Pavio, that found that spoken and written words are processed in the same part of the brain. So this means that if your audience, if you have slides and presentations full of slides with bullet points, so most likely your audience will be reading from your slides. And if they are reading from your slides, they're not listening to what you're saying, because these two things are processed in the same part of the brain. So what Pavio also found is that images actually are processed in a different part of the brain. Meaning, so if you give your audience images and you're speaking to your audience, explaining and delivering your message, your audience can do it at the same time. Instead of words and listening, images and listening. This is doable. So what can you do, taking into account this information, is actually you go visual. It's like I said, it's easier to have bullet points. This is if you go visual, it's more work, but actually you will end up with a better result. okay? And this is John Medina, which actually has a book entitled Brain Rules. He says that if you just hear something, you'll just remember 10%. But if you add a picture to what you're saying, you'll remember 65% of the message. So, and actually experiments in memory and communication found that the information delivered in pictures and images is way more likely to be remembered as opposed to words alone. So, and that's why scientists call this pictorial superiority. So, and this is actually the adage, a picture is worth 1,000 words is rather fitting in this situation. This is something to bear in mind, okay? Visuals and text. And most likely people will remember what you said. I'm just going to give you a practical example of the same thing of what I'm trying to convey. So this is actually a more traditional slide that actually duplicates the presenter's words. Most likely, the traditional presenter would read what's written on the slide. We can do different. We can, as presenters, say, and our audience would be listening, that blogs are like sharks, but while watching this visual. And the slide here, actually, the visual serves to, it enhances the presenter's words much better and has impact. Actually, go back, you see. So if you look at this, and if you look at this, this clearly has a more visual impact. And the point is actually made clearly. So I think the question is, so which is more memorable? So this most likely, I'd say, will be more impactful. And actually, since people are not reading, they can actually listen to you. That's the important thing. But also, again, so visuals are important, but there are a couple of things, especially the signal to noise ratio, that we have to consider as well. So, and this signal to noise ratio actually is the ratio of relevant and irrelevant elements that we put and information in our slides. So, and our goal must be to have the highest signal to noise ratio, okay? Because it's, again, it's making things easier for our audience, okay? It's good to have visuals, but if your visuals just contain a lot of non-essential items, I mean, symbols, logos, shapes, so things that are visual but actually do not play a key role in supporting your message. So if that's the case, I would say that you should consider removing them. So, and then again, I'll have a couple of examples. So imagine yourselves with this kind of slide and this slide. So the information here, I'm going to put it back again. So this as opposed to this. So the information is the same, but the way you are attempting to pass it on to your audience is not. So, I mean, this is far simpler. And if you are in an audience and you've attended 5, 6, or 7 talks already, this is far easier to understand and far easier to get the message. So the takeaway is, if your added elements, they may eventually, you have this to consider, compromise your visual message, so there's no point of using them. So again, it's simplicity, simplicity, and simplicity. One final design concept I think it's important to take into account is contrast. Because actually, I mean, in simply put, this actually contrast means difference, okay? And this is important in design because it actually helps your audience to never be in doubt about where to look and know what's most relevant in each of the slides you are showing them. So they know exactly, okay, so this is the most important information I have on this slide. So this is the thing I have to pay attention to. So, and you can achieve contrast in many different ways. Or you can manipulate space. I mean, by manipulation of space, I mean near, far. You can use color, dark, light. even text selection, the font, serif, bold, narrow, the positioning of your elements at the top, at the bottom, and many other things. I have an example. It's actually about size.
Okay, Ruben,
It's
it's 40-minute warning. Okay, so you have 5 minutes left.
okay. I'll try. I'm just moving on to delivery. Yeah, thanks, Sandy. Okay, this is just a little bit of size, but actually a little bit of color. It's a bit of positioning and proximity as well, because proximity. So if you set it apart, it's one thing. If you put it closer, it even gives you a sense of hierarchy on your slides. So this is just another example, but it's important to use contrast when you want to convey some information. Okay, so as I was telling Sandy, so now that you have your design in place by considering the pros and cons of the 177 rule, the benefits of going more visual, it's time to think of delivery. So the first thing with delivery I want to share with you guys is a support group I've recently joined. It's the Fear of Public Speaking support group. Okay, so I've recently joined this support group, and but although this is humorous, actually, in truth, after things like people having their loved ones becoming ill or dying, terrorist attacks, a new pandemic, the fear of public speaking actually ranks third. I've pulled these numbers. It's 2024, ranks third with almost 30% after heights and sharks. In the number, this is Chapman University list of fears in America for 2024. So this is no trivial matter, okay? People actually public speaking still, it's difficult for many people, okay? So, and actually, but it's normal. And I mean, virtually everyone at one time or another gets nervous before they present. It's true. So, but the thing is, what can we do to kind of alleviate our anxiety? Key, rehearsal. Rehearsal is essential for great presentation. So even if people say, oh no, I just did this at the moment's notice, no, because actually rehearsal, it's what actually, although it may not be possible to get over your nerves completely, but practice actually builds confidence and gives you confidence and helps you remember the key points and makes it seem easier to your audience. Actually, Martin Luther King had years of preparation. I think I pulled a conservative estimate, and he had 5,000 hours of practice, over 2,500 speeches in his lifetime. So, and that's why he got so good at it, and the famous improvised "I have a dream" speech. But it takes a lot of practice. And even if you think of Steve Jobs as well. So Steve Jobs' presentation, everyone says that Steve Jobs' presentation was so engaging, so easy. No, actually they seemed easy and were engaging because he practiced like mad before every single presentation. So rehearsal is key. So a second tip I got from the Fear of Public Speaking support group is to kind of try to reinterpret the way you see your nerves. Instead of interpreting as this nervousness, this adrenaline rush, your heart starts to race. So associated with public speaking, see it as readiness. People in sports do this all the time. They feel nervous, but they interpret it as kind of a physiological response to telling them they're ready. And we as presenters have to try to do this. Just for an example, worldwide renowned singers, Bruce Springsteen and Beyonce, they claim to fear giving bad shows if they don't get nervous. So see your nerves as something good. It's your body. It's not your body attacking you. It's your body preparing you for your presentation. It's your body telling you, okay, so you're ready. You're okay. So now that you have overcome your nerves, it's time for the actual delivery quickly. So you need a structure. So you need an opening, you need a closing of your delivery, of your story, but in the middle, you need to give your audience the why, the what, the how, and the what if. So actually opening is a chance everyone has to intrigue or tease, or most importantly, as I see it, is to gain the audience's attention. And there are several ways of opening. You can open with a question. Okay, actually, these are fictional examples, guys. These are fictional examples. With a statement or an interesting fact, or even tap into a universal experience. Even if people didn't have that experience, they can relate to it. Okay, there are some more suggestions. I don't know, perhaps I've done the one I'm going to tell you, starting with my main point. Tell an anecdote, or turn the tables around and start at the end. So, but actually, see your opening as an opportunity to gain your audience's attention. And if you gain your audience's attention, then you tell them your story. Then you share it with them all the key messages, all the key points you want to make. The why. Say why. Say, give them reasons why your audience would want to know about this. You're telling them why your research is important to them, or even why they should use the information you're sharing. So give them reasons to stay tuned with what you're saying. So go on to the what. It's about giving them information. What is it about? So what's the information on the facts and figures of your findings? What's the information on the key points of your data? Then the how. It's about practicality. You have to tell your audience how they can use it. Explain your audience how it works. How can they apply it? And explain them, more important, how it can be useful for them. Lastly, we should finish by exploring the what if. Do you remember a while back when I discussed the structure of your story at the preparation stage? That in research we are actually looking for benefits and solutions. So this is it. The what if, it's about giving benefits and the consequences as well. So what do the results of your research mean to your audience? What are the benefits and consequences of acting upon your information? The what if they do and what if they don't? And actually, what are the future possibilities? Okay, based on what you're telling them. Lastly, the closing. So you close, or you should, by summing your presentation, by reminding your audience the importance of your story. So also the key points of your message, and if possible, you want to leave a bit of a thought in their mind. Okay, so I'm moving just a couple more slides, Sandy, and I'll finish. So the caveat I told you about at the beginning, and you may be wondering what's a 7 doing here, but actually it's 7 is the number of times that people can read faster than we can talk. So if, like many presenters do, they read their slides. So if you're just reading slides, actually what you're doing, it's just duplicating the same information. That's what I told you with the slide of blogs are like sharks. So, and that's not what your audience wants. What your audience, they want to know the story of your facts. And if you're just reading slides, why are you there? Because if you do read from your slides, what most likely will happen is this. You'll just lose your audience because they're not following what you're saying. If you're just reading your slides, this is it. So my advice is, so don't read from your slides, or at least try not to, okay? So, and finally, Sandy, just leaving you with a thought. So doing what I'm preaching. So just in sum, so you have to think of what are you talking about, who are you talking about, and what's in it for them, most important. How long have you got? What's your outcome? Most important, what do you want your audience, what do you want them to think, say, and do as the result of the story you've just told them? So, and why are you there if you're just reading bullet points? So tell them a story. And finally, my thought, so is this, there is no such thing as the perfect presentation. There will always be something, okay? Perhaps you spoke a little bit faster. Perhaps the design of a couple of slides wasn't as good as you would like. Perhaps you had the technical glitch. Don't worry. This just comes with the territory, okay? Think of progress, not perfection. We are always making progress and we're always improving. So thank you very much. Thank you for listening. And most importantly, I hope it will be helpful.
Thank you, Ruben. And a big round of applause to you. It was a beautiful presentation. I really liked watching it, looking at it. Thank you. And some really fascinating ideas. I kept thinking, oh my God, I've made that mistake. Oh no, I must do that again. Yeah,
No, like I said, this is work in progress. I made many mistakes. No, that's why now I'm trying to improve on and get it better, because I've done my share of bullet point slides. I have.
Yeah. But any comments or questions that you would like to ask Ruben?
Actually, I have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So just a minute. So Inez or Barbara? Let's have Barbara first, alphabetically, and then we'll go for Inez.
No, I just wanted to say that it felt really validating, because I've had people say that I give good presentations, but I actually have social anxiety. And what I do is I rehearse so many times that it becomes like muscle memory. Like I get to the stage of the presentation, and if I try to read my notes, I can't read anything, I blank. So I need to rehearse everything like over and over. And people who know me are like, why don't you just do the presentation? You don't need to rehearse a lot of times. I mean, you're already good. And I'm like, no, maybe I'm good
No.
because I rehearsed 1,000 times. So every time I have to do a presentation, it's very time consuming. And so, yeah, so I got that. And I just wanted to say I really liked your presentation a lot. So thank you for this.
Okay, thanks, because it's difficult for me. I was telling Sandy, so I'm giving a presentation on good presentation. What if I'm in the suck side of the presentation? So it's kind of so it's me being a little bit, but actually presenters do that as well, is being a little bit vulnerable. You put yourself at risk because you're actually in front of I don't know how many people that you don't know. So actually also presenting is letting yourself be a little bit vulnerable.
Exactly.
But you are on the right track, Barbara. And that's
and you
rehearsal.
don't know sometimes the level of expertise someone in the audience might have and what questions they might ask. So there's a lot of background study that goes into presentations, because you're not just studying to give the presentation, but you also sometimes need to have extra knowledge to be ready for some questions.
Exactly.
So it's very time consuming. It's not just showing up with a few slides and doing it.
Yeah. And the people who say that are actually mediocre presenters, or they're not actually telling you the truth. Because I said the inconvenient truth at the beginning, because it's actually hard work.
Yeah, it is. But anyway, thank you very much.
Welcome. You're welcome.
Yes, how about you?
So thank you, Ruben, for this lovely presentation. And I have to say, I have a similar experience to Barbara as well, because I've tried a lot of different techniques because I also have social anxiety. And I've noticed that if I do try to write a whole draft and memorize it, the presentation will not go well. But I also do need to practice because I need to know exactly what I need to know for each slide. Otherwise, I'll just get nervous and forget whatever I had to say during the presentation. So it's about this balance of practicing, but trying to go with the flow of the presentation and not have everything just written down for you.
There's a little bit of improvisation. That also with experience we get better. Like I was telling with Martin Luther King, and we have a very experienced presenter, Sandy. I've been audience of Sandy's presentations, also wonderful. So, and a bit of improvisation, it will happen. And actually, like I was telling you, if you want to relate to audience, they don't want people, if they want to go to a poetry recital, everything memorized, so they go to a poetry recital. That's not what people want. It's a more humane kind of conversation with people. So that's a good thing, Ines, because if you're just memorizing stuff, and speaking again and impacting with your voice, but sounding like a robot, so it won't resonate on your audience.
I don't want to take too much time, but I have not really a question about the presentation, more of a curiosity that I thought of when you mentioned the signal to noise ratio and how the images that we show should be relevant to the things we're talking about. I was just wondering, what is your opinion on this recent craze that's been going on? I don't think it has happened with conferences and presentations yet, at least I hope not, but I've seen it in classes in which just teachers use random videos of people playing games that they don't have anything to do with what they're saying, but because of TikTok, students seem to pay more attention to what the teacher is saying. Have you heard about that?
No, actually I haven't. And it strikes me as kind of odd, because if it doesn't have anything to do with the story you're trying to tell, because even myself as not just a presenter, but as a teacher, I have to have things, and I use this as well with visuals for my students, and although it's a bit different, but having things that actually have nothing to do, and that to keep your audience engaged, that's kind of strange. I haven't, Ines. And can you please elaborate? How does that work? So it has nothing to do with what the teacher is saying. It has nothing to do with but does it have anything to do with the content?
No, it's not at all. It's mirroring what we see on TikTok. And I hope this does not become a thing. But and I have to do more research on this. But I've seen teachers.
Actually, I didn't. Sandy, have you heard about it?
I've seen TikTok, so I don't know. I'm an ancient woman.
Yeah, but they use, like Ines is saying, the use of TikTok, so just to captivate, just to get the attention. Is that it, Ines? So that's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So just so students won't go on their phones while the teacher is speaking, things like that.
But actually, if again, the thing with pie view, if they're reading something, if they're watching something, are they actually listening to the teacher? Can they do both at the same time?
I think it's because you know, on social media and YouTube, there's a lot of videos where the producer of the video is talking, commenting about anything, and then they're just playing a video game, and it's just visual. There's no text, and people just listen to what they're saying while watching the video, so they're entertained, but they're still listening, and it works somehow on social media. I'm actually hoping it doesn't work on real conferences, because I think
hope not.
I have a question about visuals, if I may. You had a lot of really lovely visuals. Where do you get them from? And are they all completely open access, free to share, or if
No,
they
these ones. It's a bit of some of them are used from the training program. Example, the three-part structure.
Mhm.
I've shown you with the colors. That one I got from I took from the training I did. A couple of those I took from the training I did, but the rest it's actually again hard work finding visuals, trying to, because usually stock photo has really nice visuals, but most of them are paid. So we have to dig. Yeah, you have to dig deep to find the visuals. It's a bit of like Barbara was saying also, is hard work. It's time consuming. Okay,
But,
and to find the right visuals for your message, because it's not just the visual. So that's the thing as well, because sometimes it's just not a matter of okay using a visual. No, it's something that actually supports what you're saying.
But do you ever consider referencing where you got your image from? Do you think that's important? Because that's one of the things I worry about. You know, you're showing this. I remember using one of the an image from a David Hockney painting, and I had the reference of the painting at the bottom, and I felt that that was really important to have that.
Yeah, but I think this one perhaps I could have included, but most of them I just tried to get them from, like I said, stock photo is the best, and I have to dig on stock photos. So unless at the end, that's perhaps a good idea, Sandy. At the end, okay, so visuals, or most of the visuals are from stock photo.
Okay.
But most of them, yes. I start by doing I just Google what my idea of something I have on a post-it, again, something I have on a post-it, Google it and see what it brings. So, and then I start skimming and checking which one actually suits my idea for that and that particular slide and that particular message I want to convey. Some of them are simple, like the one with contrast. It's simple. You just say, oh, differences and or something, and you just get the picture, the image. So some of them are easier, but some of them take a little bit of time. But that's a nice point as well. Okay. So, but I thought actually, I thought that for those that I took from the training program, I don't think there's a problem with that.
Possibly need to just reference the fact that they come from the training program, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the tips, Sandy.
I don't know. Thinking about that. But no, super. Thank you so much, Ruben, for a really interesting talk and full of really good ideas. Yeah, it was. Yes, and there's also AI. So
and exactly. So, Antonio,
using more and more, aren't we?
I'm glad you said that as well, because actually the one I showed Sandy with the strive for simplicity for Einstein, actually that one, and I use Copilot because a Copilot actually we can embed Copilot in Office, Antonio. So with Word, spreadsheet, PowerPoint. So and actually that one I just asked Copilot to get me an image of Einstein, and I used that one. Yeah, that one actually was AI made.
Okay.
Point taken, Antonio. Good.
Thank you. I mean, we have to stop now.
Okay, sorry, guys.
Really, it was great. I wonder if you could all unmute, and we can give a real round of applause to Ruben. What do you think? Yes? Yay, Ruben!
course.
Thank you.
Okay.